Hi, I'm Kamakshay Musunuru. I'm open source software evangelist, a freelance web developer, and also an academic of data science and analytics. Uh, in my previous video, I explained how to deal with some of the issues related to writing the functions using JavaScript. As I have told you, talking about functions using especially inside using JavaScript or inside JavaScript is not that easy. There are so many things and which needs a great amount of time for discussions. It is just it keeps going on and on because there are that is actually the scope of the JavaScript when we do talk about the functions. In this video, I would like to talk about how to develop the arrow functions. This is one of the popular methods used while writing the functions using JavaScript, and maybe possibly after this, within a couple of sessions, I will close this talk about the functions. So these arrow functions are very handy. I think I already spoke about the arrow functions in one of my previous videos, but I thought it requires a great deal of discussion because arrow functions, whenever we think of a function, we can just consider these arrow functions as substitutes. We don't need to follow the conventions of writing functions in JavaScript. We can straight away use this. Actually, the arrow functions is a concept which was introduced in Java programming language. Okay, core Java. We refer it to core Java, but that became very popular in JavaScript. And if you look at Angular, some of the frameworks like Angular, React, most of the time the developers use these arrow functions. So in this session, I am going to talk about arrow functions and their utility while dealing with different types of data. Okay, first let me make my page, my document blank. Document, no, it is not document actually. Window location, local storage. Location is equal to about blank. Okay, about, I don't know. See, I have the problem with about. I don't know how to choose that. Do I need to use mouse? Okay. Now that becomes, left side, you can see that disappears. That Google disappears and my page becomes white. So that, yes. So I'm going to talk about different examples related to arrow functions. I'm going to show you different examples while working with these arrow functions. The very first example is how to process numerical data. So if it is numerical data, suppose I want to define a function add. So arrow function is just suppose like say for example I want to in one of my previous sessions I've told you how to use functions as expressions, values, something like that. So we can just let add like that, we can start, but I don't want to do this. I want to make my function add. This is the name of the function. So that is, when you use this name, actually this is going to be one of the attributes to your functions. So we don't want this actually because the name is already given, but if you want you can do it. So that is what I said, talking about functions, especially JavaScript, when you have too many things in your brain and making it making your talk very succinct is a very difficult task. Now we can just define add and something like that. Okay, and here comes the arguments. Okay, and then your block starts here, so you can start writing. But arrow functions, what it happens is we don't want, suppose let me fill this. So I'm still not comfortable with yeah. Okay, fine. So this is actually, so arrow function is actually it is just going to replace these two words. Okay, and now instead of writing the function and something after name of the function, you can just simply replace those two words with an arrow. So that is what and now we don't need this block. If you have one single statement or maybe a couple of statements, this add is just going to pick up these two arguments. That's it. The function is done now. Now what happens? Add 1 comma 2. That's it. We'll get. So instead of following the conventions of writing the functions, you can just follow this type of. That is actually the arrow in a function is just going to replace that word function and name of the function, something like that. So this is how we can. The same function I can also define in a. Actually, this is not required. So there are two arguments, right? And then here comes the arrow, okay, and then y, and then comes the arrow, and then comes the body x plus y. So this is actually, I don't know, in one of my videos I was explaining, like, inside function and outside function. So the outside function has got an argument, inside function has got an argument, and these two arguments are supplied to the function in two different parentheses. So if that is actually, so this is actually the inside function. Yeah, sorry, this is an inside function, this is outside function. Now what happens? 1 and then 2. So that is just going to be 3. I think I explained this particular type of method of writing the function when I was talking about the scoping. I think that was the immediate previous video cast. So if you're not clear about what is inside outside functions or function, we also refer this particular method as nested functions. So this is actually the arrow function for the nested functions, and this is for the regular function. So we can write an arrow function for regular function in this way, and we can write the nested function for arrow function for the nested function in this way. So that is what exactly I mean to talk. Now, so that is actually the numerical processing, and I would like to talk about how to process a string. That is not a big thing actually. So a string is a string. Say, for example, if I want to say hi or something, hello, it doesn't matter, hello, and now this is just going to accept some string, okay, and now arrow starts here. I don't know why this is coming like this, and now I can start a quote. I can put I cannot use string, I'm sorry. Yes, let me use message. Yeah, I don't know, because string is maybe it is reserved or unreserved, I don't know. Like, better as long as you don't use number, string, int, float. These are all actually most of the time, every language, most of the time these words are reserved words in maybe reserved words inside the language, so don't use. So hi, and then message. Okay, this is just going to be a literal message, and then close your and then press enter, and this is say hello, and then if I put mk, then this is just going to be okay, fine. That is not going to be the right way. I think it is not the quote, it should be backtick. Okay, so quote cannot be when we use the literals inside, I mean the variables inside say hello. I think I should be having this. There is a problem now. So is this, I think it is not curly braces, should be okay. Okay, now I think I should be able to do this. No, where am I wrong? $sign message. Okay, I'll see that later, but for, I'll just define in my own usual way. So let's say return hi, and then plus, okay, message. So that's safest way I can define. And now when I say okay, say hi is not defined. Okay, say hello. Then why this is coming? Say hello is correct. So hi, and then say hello. Okay, now hi. Okay, so that's actually, and I'll see why this is not working. Right. So I've told you how to process, how to write the arrow functions for numbers, how to write the arrow function for processing strings, and now I'm going to show you how to let's say how to make use of condition inside an array function. So how to use suppose if you want to use a condition, um, sometimes we'll be using this control flow inside the functions, right? So we write a function to define a logic. So this logic is used to process data. So obviously, let's say for example I want to test true or false, and now the function is going to be like this. I can just say no, I don't want this. I can write the name here, and then I can give the arguments, true or false. This is a response, let's say, and then if it is true, if res is true, okay, and then if res, I don't need to use true, and then let's say print a message, okay, and then it is true, okay, and then I close this block, else console log it is false, okay, but so now I think it's not going on, else, okay, something went wrong here. I am a very bad typist, okay, I don't know how to type things, that is actually a problem. Now we can test true or false. Okay, this is true. Let's say if it is true. Now it is true. Let me check with the one. See, I'm a very bad typist. It is true. And now I can say false. Okay, FAL is false. I think I could have done something. FA true, false. Let me see 0. It's not printing. So what is the problem? What is the problem? If the else console log it is false. Where am I wrong? I don't know. Test. Okay, for truth it works, but for false it is not working. Do I need to go for it? Console is not defined. I think console is not defined. Console, it should be console, right? So it is false. False. Hooray. It is false. So it works. Now the same function I can also define it by using an arrow method. That is, let's say true or false is equal to, and then I call res, and here comes the logic. So the logic is going to be res is say if it is true, then print console log it is true. Okay, else console log it is false. I think I have some problem in my brain. So test true or false, and then the rest is going to be true. If it is true, it is true. If it is false. Hey, why are you coming? It is false, something like that. So we can replace the arrow function. So this function, which we otherwise we need to use the conventions of writing the functions in JavaScript, can be replaced. Arrow function can replace that entire function within a statement. So actually that is the advantage of using the arrow functions. Now let me show you how to use the arrow functions to process objects. So I've shown you how to use the arrow functions to process the numbers and strings, and then boolean response, strings and boolean response. And now I'm going to show you how to use these arrow functions to process the objects. Imagine that you got an object. Let object abj is something like this. Okay, first name, okay, is something, some kind of, kamakshaya, ks, h, and then let me process this. Suppose if I want to get the first name of this, I have to use function, okay, get name, and then here comes the name, okay, and then hey, what's the hell with you? Where am I doing wrong? Function, come on. Function, okay, and now comes the return name dot first name, something like that, and then I can close this. Now get name, then object, okay. So the same function I can replace with an arrow function just like this. Get name, it should be first name, and then name, and then arrow. Now comes here I think it's not name actually, object. I give the object, and the object will be and it is just going to return the object's first name. Okay, now we got the object, okay, get name obj object, and now this is just going to act in the same fashion. Okay, so here the arrow function going to act the same way that it is behaving as a regular function. Okay, so now let me show you one typical more complex thing. Suppose imagine that we got an object with some instances, kind of the name age, something like that, maybe first name last name, something like that. Let me say I say employees, okay, as usual. Now I'm going to create an object, employees like this, and this is not going to be there. This is a list of objects, and now each object is going to have f name, okay, and this is first name is m, and then l name is k. Sorry, my first name is k, my l name is m, and then let me close this, and then another object. So f name, this must be some a, doesn't matter, don't care. L name is some j, okay, and then close this, and then I'll have one more. Something went wrong. Okay, fine. Here I think it should be, I forgot this. I don't know, nowadays my typing skills are going down. F name, some k, again, and then L name, some m, I don't know, kind of. Okay, now close this object. Yeah, now employees. you want employees. This is just a kind of 3 different employees are there. Now how are we going to write the function for this? Suppose if I want to process all these imagine that I want to get the the first name of these employees. So now what happens is function get first name and then object. Okay, some object. I have to give the object here, and this is just going to for. I need to have first names is a list. Okay, for let I is equal 0, I less than object length. Okay, I plus plus. I'll be doing a lot of as usually spelling mistakes, and please be patient with me. Now what happens is this first names I is equal to object. Now we have to use we need to use get name. Okay, it's already there. Okay, object dot first name. It's not first name. Object dot f name. I suspect this code because it's going complex now. I think here okay, let me show you. Let me see first, is it possible for me employees, okay, 0, and then who is he? Okay, so now comes f name. So this is actually the way I need to. So I have to get this. So get first name. Now let me just straight away go for object. So let me not talk about. I'm confusing myself and I'm making you confused with object. So let's take it name. Okay, let me define first name. Okay, let me define first name. So now for let I is equal to 0, I less than object length length I plus plus, and then comes console log that comes with the object I dot. So where am I going to use get first name? First name, f name. Let me see. Okay. So what is happening here? So my object length. So to get the first names, what I need to do is for let I is equal to 0. Okay. Is equal to 0. I less than object employees length I plus plus, and then here console again wrong, console log, then comes the employees I dot f name. So this is how. So obviously this should be, so ka, these are all actually the first names of that object. Okay, so now we can replace that get first name function here. Okay, how's that going to happen? Suppose if I go back again and come here, this part we can just here we can make use of that function get first name employee I. So this is going to be much more precise. And now how did we, this is actually an arrow function. This is an arrow function which we used, but let me tell you, this is how we can process the objects by using the arrow functions. So now to put it very simply, we got an arrow function here. This is an arrow function. This arrow function can be, we got an arrow function here and we got an object here. Okay, we got objects here, and then we can use we can use this arrow function to retrieve the information from that object. So this is how. Now however, there is a very simple way of doing. We don't even need to use this loop. I can simply say first names. This is what is actually the advantage of a particular function using map. Employees dot map, and then simply get first name. That's simple. You'll just get a list of the first names. You don't even need to use the the for loop. So that is actually the advantage of map. And there is one last thing, that is filter. Usually, suppose if you have an object or an array, so we can make use of this filter to access the elements inside an object. So let me show that with the help of an example. So first let me show you how to use this keyword filter to check any even number. Suppose if I have is even, let's say, or check number, like no, check even, check number. Okay, check number, and this is simply going to be a number, and this is an arrow function. I don't know why I'm typing those instead of arrow. Num divided by percentile 2, if it is equal to 0, then you can just result return a message. Okay, what nonsense am I doing? Return a message. It is the number is even. Okay, else just leave that. Okay, that's what is the illegal return statement is correct. I know. Okay, number is 0, and then that's it. Okay, fine. Now let us use let me use so this one here. I can use filter. Okay, and then check number. So let's see what's going to happen. There are only 2 numbers. Okay, the same arrow. In the same fashion, this filter can be used in a different way. This is actually to process the numbers. So how are we going to process the text? So let me take a scenario here. I'm just going to find out the I think we have employees, right? Employees, and in these employees there are first names and last names. I just want to pick the employees whose name starts, whose name has the letter K, something like that, or whose last name has the letter M, something like that. So for that, I'm going to start with maybe K. I can say this should be a bullshit example, but bear with me. It's going to have a string, string string. I don't know why it is not turned into a blue color. Usually it should turn into blue color. So this string dot to lower case, convert that into a lowercase, okay, and then stats with b, it should be k, okay. So that string lowercase starts with k, find only those. Now in conventional ways, let us not talk about the conventional ways, and I don't like to waste my time. So I can straight away go for employees, okay, filter. Now I can use that filter. I think I should use starts with k. That's type error. Yeah, filter, and here in filter I should use a user, and then it is going to work like this, and starts with k, user f name. So that should be the right employees filter user, and that user you give the username, because in employees it is an object, inside we got the users, right? So in user it is a filter name, it is an f name. So whereas here it is going to take the string, we need to give in user we got I think we should use for loop here. So it is not that easy. For let I is equal to 0, I less than employees dot length I plus plus. Okay, here comes that, because we need I. Why? Because in user, in employees we got I. We need to give 0, 1, comma, something like console log employees. Here we have to give I. But while giving I, we can replace this. That is actually for see here we can come up and give starts with k. So that could be the, because it is going to have the string f name. Here I think we have to give f name. So this is actually the string. Why? Because in starts with k we are supplying the string. So here in employees I, we need to go to that 0, 1, comma 1, 1, 2. There are numbers, right? So it works only if and only if we give some number here. Employees 0 f name, employees 1 f name, something like that. I think this time it works. I don't know. Console. So as usual, okay, I did a mistake, typing mistake, console. So you should be watching me doing this mistakes. I don't know, for unknown reasons I'm doing this mistakes. Oh, true or false, something like that. So it is not returning actually, yeah. So it is not returning the. So we have to update. Okay, so as far as logic is concerned, it is the first name it has k, and second name it has no k, and third name it has k. So in case if we want to capture the names, we need to create a list, and in that list we can, like let's say name list array, so something like that. So now it is possible to capture that name. Name list I is equal to starts with k, it is true, and then that is just think I'm going wrong like this. Starts with k. So again, it is just going to give anyway. So that's actually, I don't have the plan for this talk. That is the problem with. So there is additional thing, that is the problem. So now you got the name list, yeah, true false, something like that. So okay, in this video I explained you how to use the array functions to work with numbers, strings, objects, and also I explained two additional keywords. They are filter and map. Okay, thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for the new content. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and also press like button. Thanks once again.